Hello friends, welcome back to Van Ventures with Jodie. The van progress is coming along really nicely now. We've completely finished the flooring, so I'm going to take you through that in a second. All the prep work and then lay in the luxury vinyl tiles, also known as LVT. These are like a sort of floating floor. They just click together, create kind of one giant flooring piece, which you kind of build as you go in the van. And they're really durable, waterproof, hard wearing, and it looks really, really nice and expensive. Whilst I haven't seen very many online converters using these tiles, when I asked all the professional converters at festivals what they've used, they've all said this. So I'm pretty confident it's a good product for the job, and it looks really nice and professional. It looks really great in all of the show vans that I've seen, and it looks really nice in mine, so I'm really happy with it. So let's go, I'll show you what we've done. We'd already removed the ply flooring and cleaned out underneath, painted and filled in any holes. So the first thing to do was to lay a subfloor with roofing battens. These are cheap as chips if you go to a wood yard, but they'll cost you triple in B&Q, so I strongly recommend getting them from a wood yard. We tried to place enough that it would eliminate any movement in the floor and any creaking moved around to make sure that we've got a really nice base for everything that goes on top of it. And we didn't use any screws, we just used a very strong glue and some weights to press them down as we moved around the van. Then we moved on to the insulation, so I used 25mm PIR insulation board. This was really easy, just to cut into squares and rectangles and just slot into the holes, and it's really satisfying when you get one that's just the right size and you haven't got to trim it down anymore, which we did a lot of. And even though this was quite easy, it took us the whole day to do the van floor. To complete the floor, we covered all of the wooden battens with this foil tape. It's basically just like your kitchen foil, except that it's sticky on one side, and this creates a waterproof barrier across the whole of the floor. I then added some Reflectix to the wheel arches, which is kind of like a metallized bubble wrap, which again stops any moisture getting through, and then that is foil taped to the floor. We were then ready to replace the plywood floor. We used the original ply floor that came in the van because it was almost new and it was in really good condition. The only problem was that it had these little holes all the way around the edges where the tether hooks had been. So we made some ply nuggets, as Mum called them, that are the same size with the same thickness ply, and then we just glued them into the holes. They turned out to be ever so slightly thicker than the ply for the original floor, so we just shaved off the excess and then sanded them down so they were perfectly flat. And with the top of the floor covered, we just needed something to finish off the edges. Since we'd now raised the floor by 25mm, we had that extra gap at the side, so we made these out of ply, painted them in the colour that the main van is going to be, a little sign of things to come, and then glued and panel pinned these onto those edges. Finally, we were ready to lay all of the vinyl tiles. We separated them into lights and darks and looked for any pattern repeats from production to make sure that we didn't have any obvious knots next to each other. And then to cut the first corner where there was a curve, I used this tool that I bought for Dad for his birthday years ago, and now he could finally get to use it. This helped us get a perfect seam right in that corner for the first piece, and then we just followed along the side of the van to the wheel arch, cut that one on the angle that it needed, and continued doing one row at a time from one side of the van all the way to the other. Because these pieces just clip together and clip out again, it's quite easy to swap pieces around if you want to see how the pattern sits. And we did swap a few out. A few of them were damaged on the corners and we would just want to make sure that that damaged end was then cut off later, so we were quite careful to make sure all the good pieces were placed in the right locations. I ordered 3 boxes, which was just enough to complete this van, and was very lucky, really just based on the length of each tile, because 3 tiles laid end to end was just slightly longer than the van, so we just had to trim that end off. If it had been a different size, there could have been a lot more wastage, and I probably would have had to have bought more. The funny thing is, some of the companies that sell this I would have had to have bought 4 to complete the van, so I'm really glad I managed to do it in 3 because it's quite expensive per box. Once the final tile had been clipped into place, we finished off the very edges where the doors are with this gold stair nose in. It's metal with 2 rubber strips along the top for grip, and this just sits nicely on the edge and adds a really nice sleek entrance. So that's the floor all laid. We've got these vinyl tiles down across the whole van now and this lovely little gold trim. I'm really happy with how it's turned out. Was worried it might be a bit too dark, but the rest of the decor is going to be quite light, so it should be fine. Yeah, I just really like the colour. We're now working on the walls and the ceiling's coming soon, and then we're going to do a cab partition in between the front and the back with a door so that I can get through if I need to make a quick skedaddle or just get through when it's pouring with rain. I hope you've enjoyed watching our progress. If you want to see some more, hit the subscribe button. If you like this video, hit the like so that I know you liked it, and I'll see you next time.